Okay, so what I'm gonna do is first I'll talk some about why we need supplements in general, and then I'll go with more details about what's in our Xtend products. So in order to understand why many of us need supplements, we need to look at what we eat today. And one easy way to group it is into three main categories. So we have unprocessed or minimally processed foods. So this is the type of food that is what you see is what you get. Think vegetables, grains, legumes, fruit, nuts, seafood, so on. We then have processed foods, and this is when ingredients such as oil, sugar, and salt are added to foods, and then they get packaged. For example, we have cheese, tofu, canned tuna, canned beans, and so on. These foods have been altered, but not in a way that is detrimental to our health. Instead, they are convenient and help us to build nutritious meals. We then have ultra-processed foods, and these foods go through multiple processes and contain many added ingredients. Examples of these are soft drinks, chips, ice cream, sweetened breakfast cereals, packaged soup, chicken nuggets, and so on. And this is type of C, so what you see is not what you get, because you can't actually see on the food what's in them. But they have been altered to both look good and taste appealing, but they do not contain the nutrition that keeps us healthy. Instead, they tend to be detrimental to our health and something we should limit our intake of. When we then look at, in this case, what Americans eat, 57.5% eat ultra-processed foods, which are the type of food that are high in calories, but have low nutritional values and are detrimental, as I said, to our health. We then go, yeah, but we all know Americans have a terrible diet. This does not apply to me. Unfortunately, as we can see in the table here, Europe is not far behind when it comes to ultra-processed food intake. You are better in the eastern parts of Europe than we are in the western parts, but the amount of ultra-processed food consumed in Europe overall is still way too high. And actually, as we know from our HbA1c presentations, where type 2 diabetes is classed as a pandemic, which is which is due to, in part, our diet, we have a worldwide issue with the ultra-processed food intake. There's a simple solution called the food pyramid, and I'm not aware how it is in all your different countries, but at least in Sweden, we all get educated in this pyramid in school, as well as something called the plate model. The gist of them is that the main part of our food should come from the unprocessed food, and with a lot of fruit, vegetables, grains, legumes, fatty fish, and so on. And only at the top, we can treat ourselves with some of these ultra-processed foods. So at least for us Swedes, we cannot blame lack of knowledge the reason for our eating habits. And now that everyone has seen this one, let's just start following the pyramid. And this would be easy if it wasn't because of our heritage. The human species evolved in a particular environment, likely a hot African plain. Our genes are therefore fine-tuned to supporting us surviving famine. Therefore, we are wired to be drawn to food containing salt, sugar, and fat, which can be stored in our body. Oversimplified, we are drawn to them because sugar and fat can be used as energy, and salt helps us regulate how much water we have in our body. So modern man, that's us, all face the dilemma. We are surrounded by fast food, cheap calories, and all you can eat buffets, but have genes fine-tuned to help us survive famine in a very different environment. So our inherited genes and an abundance of food have stacked the deck against our health. But it's not just our biology in contemporary society that is a hinder to health. Our environment has changed too. Yeast and fungi used to be a natural part of our food. However, the way we process it and keep a very clean and sterile environment limit our yeast and fungi intake. This in turn is bad for our immune system, since we need especially beta-glucans from yeast or fungi to be for the immune system to be primed to work properly. And lastly, the nutrients in the nutrient-rich food that we actually eat, but tend not to eat enough of, is also affected by contemporary society. For example, when grocery bags have been assessed and the total nutrient content have been evaluated, the nutrient content has declined today compared to, for example, for 50 years ago. This has a lot of reasons, but for the fruit and vegetables that we eat, things like soil quality, farming and harvesting methods, ripeness of when they are plucked, distance and time stored, etc., are factors that have lowered the amount of nutrients in them. And this is important because fruit and vegetables are rich in vitamins and minerals, as well as in phytonutrients, which, for example, include powerful antioxidants that protect our cells. Let's see. So, to ensure we get enough micronutrients in today's society, we need to focus daily on getting enough vitamins and minerals, phytonutrients, and beta-glucans from yeast or fungi for our body to function optimally. And that's the reason we have developed Xtend Plus, the all-in-one multi-immune food supplement designed to substitute modern suboptimal diets. It is our most advanced product, containing not only the vitamins and minerals we need, but also many different phytonutrients as well as beta-glucans from baker's yeast. When taking Xtend Plus, the aim is to ensure we get the micronutrients we need for our body to be working as it is intended. And this, in turn, will give us more energy, support our bones and joints, as well as our immune system. We get a lot of questions about Xtend and how it differs from other competitive products. In short, this slide gives an overview. On the left-hand side, you see the vitamins and minerals in Xtend, many of which you'll find in other multivitamin products. What separates Xtend Plus from other products are all the extracts and compounds you find on the right-hand side. Incorporating all these extracts give us a product with so-called the clever combination effect. The compounds enhance the effect of each other. The product uses the best sources of the compounds we can find to make sure you get the micronutrients you need for your body to work. To fully understand why we need all of these micronutrients, let's go through what they are and what they do in our body. And I'll start with vitamins. So most people know that we need to get enough vitamins in our food for our bodies to work. But why is it? One way of starting to comprehend the complex relationship we have to these micronutrients is to think about all the different things constantly going on in our bodies. There is an uninterrupted work going on to produce everything we need to be able to move, see, think, feel, and bluntly put, just to function. As we grow, we need a constant production of new cells in our bones, muscles, skin, nerves, blood, etc. These would then need to be maintained or to be exchanged for their function to be as good as possible throughout our life. And this is then what is called our metabolism. A large part of this work is done by enzymes, but they are not always able to perform all of the work themselves. And this is where vitamins comes in. They work together with the enzymes to perform many of the tasks our body needs to function. If we are short on them, so the vitamins, there will be trouble with loss of function for body parts affected. Some vitamins have hormone-like characteristics, which means they act like messengers. Simply put, they signal what needs to be done where in the body. A third area vitamins are active in is aiding our defense against free radicals. These are aggressive compounds that can harm polyunsaturated fatty acids, proteins, and DNA through oxidation. All of this makes it easy to understand the vitamins' importance, and this is why the name vitamin is taken from the Latin name vita, meaning life. Vitamins are either water-soluble or fat-soluble. Water-soluble vitamins are vitamin C and the B-complex vitamins. They are dissolved in the watery parts of fruit, vegetables, and grains. Once we eat them, these foods are digested and the vitamins within them are taken up directly by our bloodstream. This can be done because our blood plasma is also water-based, and therefore this vitamin can move around freely in the body. Fat-soluble vitamins, also known as lipid-soluble vitamins, are dissolved in fat and can be found in foods such as dairy, butter, and oils. For them to get into the bloodstream, they go through the stomach and intestine, where an acidic substance called bile flows in from the liver, breaking up the fat and preparing the vitamins for absorption through the intestinal wall. Because fat-soluble vitamins cannot make use of the body's water in nature, we need something to move them around, which they get from proteins that attach to the vitamins and act as couriers transporting fat-soluble vitamins into the blood and around in the body. If they are water or fat-soluble, also determine how they are stored and rejected in the body, because water-soluble vitamins can be absorbed and passed around very easily. It also means they can be passed out equally easily via the kidneys. Because of this, most water-soluble vitamins need to be replenished on a daily basis through the food we eat. Fat-soluble, on the other hand, can be stored in the liver and in fat cells. Our body then uses these parts as a pantry, rationing them out when needed. What do these vitamins a little more specifically do? So many of the B complex vitamins make up coenzymes, whose job is to help enzymes release energy from the food we eat. Other B vitamins then help our body to use that energy. From vitamin C, we get the ability to fight infection and make collagen. Vitamin A helps to make white blood cells, key in our body's defense, helps shape bones, and improves vision by keeping the cells of the eye in check. Vitamin D gathers calcium and phosphorus so we can make bones. Vitamin E works as an antioxidant, getting rid of elements in the body that can damage cells. And finally, from vitamin K, we score the ability to clot blood, since it helps make the proteins that do this. Without this vitamin variety, humans face deficiencies that cause a range of problems like fatigue, nerve damage, heart disorders, or diseases like rickets and scurvy. On the other hand, too much vitamin can cause toxicity in the body. Therefore, it's important to get the balance right. And that is something that is taken into account when Xtend was developed. Moving on to minerals. So in nature, there are more than 100 known different elements. 4 of these, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, and nitrogen, are the main building blocks in the human body. When put together in various ways, they form water, protein, fat, carbohydrates, and vitamins, which together make up about 96% of our body weight. The rest is made up of mineral substances. So far, we found out that 14 are essential, and there is belief that another 6 are essential as well, but science have not yet found their specific functions. The essential minerals are divided into macrominerals and trace minerals. The difference is that macrominerals are needed in larger daily quantities, that is above 100 milligrams, compared to trace minerals where we need less than 100 milligrams per day. Minerals have a variety of functions in the body. Calcium, phosphorus, and magnesium gives the body its form and structure by being main constituents in our bones. Sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, phosphorus, and chloride act as ions, which means they are positively or negatively charged. More commonly, these are referred to as electrolytes. Through their charge, they control how our nerves and muscle function, and have a part in regulating water amount and acidity, so that is pH value in our bodies. Many minerals such as magnesium, zinc, copper, selenium, and manganese are also included in or cooperate with different enzymes. Iron sits centrally in the blood, so in the red blood dye, hemoglobin, and it's necessary for the transportation of oxygens from our lungs to all the cells in our body. Zinc have a very important role when the information in the DNA, So our genes are translated into producing proteins. And lastly, iodine is part of a hormone controlling our metabolism. So understanding how important these minerals are to life. So when we understand how important these minerals are to life, we also understand that we need to make sure that we get enough of these on a daily basis, and therefore also keep an eye out for mineral deficiencies in, for example, the soils from where we buy our food. Because it seems when we look around the world, these mineral deficiencies differ greatly depending on where in the world we are. And then we have phytonutrients, and they're also known as phytochemicals. And now we get to the part that is really specific for Xtend. So, and these are natural compounds produced by plants that help them protect them from insects and the sun. You find them in, for example, fruits, vegetables, whole grains, tea, nuts, and so on. There are many different types of these, and in Xtend we have a range of them, including tocotrienols, carotenoids, xanthophylls, polyphenols, cyanogens, and methyl group donors. Paul Clayton refers to them as a house. And you can see this on cincino.tv. So in this house, we have a solid ground floor with all 8 types of vitamin E, since all 8 are have important protective functions. We have beta-carotene and the less known alpha-carotene. Then lutein and zeaxanthin for our eyes. And lastly, lycopene with its many health benefits. On the first floor, we have coenzyme Q10 and the range of polyphenols, both water-soluble and the more rarer lipid-soluble polyphenols, where we need all of these different polyphenols to protect our bodies. And on the top floor, we have cyanogens from broccoli extract that work with beta-glucans, vitamin D, selenium, and zinc for our immune system. And before moving on to how beta-glucans work, let's spend a little time understanding polyphenols, which is a type of antioxidant that we all know and how it works. And to do that, we need to talk about antioxidants and free radicals. And it might get a little technical here. So, but everyone you meet have probably heard about antioxidants and that they are important for our health. But very few actually know what they do. And to understand that, we need to understand free radicals. Free radicals can be described as aggressive variants of oxygen that can damage substances they come in contact with. So all atoms have a core, and around the core, electrons are circulating in different orbits. And they do this mainly in pairs. If an electron in one of the outer orbits are unpaired, so it's orbiting alone, it is called a free radical. This electron then strives to find a new electron to pair with, which is the reason these are aggressive. When the electron finds another electron to pair with from another substance, that substance that it takes it from becomes damaged, and that's called oxidated. And when this happens, it can also then create new free radical in the substance it took it from, so that a chain reaction starts. These free radicals, they are produced in and around all cells in the body, and they can be pure waste products, intermediate steps in our metabolism, and essential compounds for our body to work properly. They can also be produced from outer forces, such as from the ultraviolet rays from the sun. The amount of damage created by these free radicals are dependent on which substance is affected, the amount of free radicals, and how well our antioxidant protection is working. Polyunsaturated fatty acids and genes are especially problematic when affected, and unfortunately, polyunsaturated fatty acids are especially prone to attacks from free radicals. This is why food with a high amount of them goes rancid easily, and as we know in Cincino, a large amount of these fatty acids are contained in the cell membranes. And if these oxidate, the function of the cells decline. And for our genes, if they get damaged by free radicals, we are at risk of developing defective proteins, and damages that affect genes controlling cell growth can also have bad effects on our health. So how do we then protect ourselves? We do this with our antioxidant defense, which is 3 parts. First, we have enzymes that renders them harmless by breaking the free radicals down to water. For this to work, we need minerals such as selenium, copper, and zinc. We then have our body's own antioxidant, such as uric acid, glutathione, and Q10, that are produced in accordance with the bodily need to fight these free radicals. And lastly, we have antioxidants, the antioxidants we get from food. And this is where our polyphenols plays a crucial part. See, we get oxidative stress in our body when there is an imbalance between free radicals and our antioxidant defense. And that is why it's important to get enough of the polyphenols from our food so we can keep that balance, so that we can protect ourselves from the oxidative stress. And lastly, for Xtend, we have 1316 beta-glucans from baker's yeast, which support the action of our innate immune system. They do so by priming cells to fight an infection or inflammation. In order for these immune cells to kill what is causing an infection, for example, a bacteria, they need something that helps them to bond to it. This is what beta-glucans do. The beta-glucans attach, that is primed to the immune cells, so they are ready to in turn bond to and kill bacteria causing the infection. This is why it's so important to get enough beta-glucans through our diet to keep our immune system alert and ready. So there we go. That's a bit of a deep dive into the macronutrient content of Xtend. But when we then look at Xtend Plus, what makes this product stand out even more is that it is the first product of its kind that has taken all the ingredients from natural sources. That is not only the active ingredients that I've just talked about, but also all of the excipients used in the product. And this is something no one else have been able to do before us. And then what happens when we make sure that we get the micronutrients we need on a daily basis is that we will feel energized, our body works as intended, so we have great bone and joint function, for example, and our immune system is primed and ready.